Hey there, it's Tankerl, and this here is the HTC One M8. But what if I told you there is a plastic version of this phone that has a 13 megapixel camera instead of the 4 megapixel ultra pixel camera? Well, there is such a thing. It's called the HTC Butterfly 2, and here it is. It's virtually identical to the HTC One M8. It's made of plastic, in this case a beautiful white plastic, and it has a 13 megapixel main camera. That's not ultra pixels, but it's quite good nonetheless. So let me walk you through this device. There's really not too much to talk about here because it is essentially the HTC One M8 with a different camera. Butterfly 2 not available in North America, but available in Asia and Europe. This particular device does not have LTE in the US, but I'm on AT&T on HSPA Plus right now. Beautiful 5-inch IPS panel, 1080p, same as the HTC One M8, nothing different here. Boom sound speakers, as you can see. Flipping it over, you have the dual camera, the secondary camera that lets you do depth sensing, and a 13 megapixel autofocus camera instead of 4 megapixel ultra pixels, and still no optical image stabilization. This is the big thing that HTC needs to remedy next year, in my opinion. Perhaps they can disable the dual camera when OIS is enabled. That would be great. Dual flash. So let me walk you through the hardware real quick, because it is very, very similar to the HTC One M8. So up here is the primary earpiece and one of the speakers. You can see sensors. Yeah, there's a notification LED here as well, and the front-facing camera. This is the same 5 megapixel front-facing camera that's on the HTC M8. Then you have this beautiful LCD panel, IPS 5-inch 1080p. The other speaker for the boom sound right here with the HTC logo. Again, this seems a little bit more balanced. Still a lot of bezel, but it looks better in my opinion when you don't have that black bar with the HTC logo from the M8. In the back, HTC logo very faint. This is actually very, very nice matte finish here, so it feels great in hand. HTC logo. Here's that 13 megapixel autofocus camera, no OIS, and the dual camera. Dual LED, dual color flash. Again, very much the same as the HTC One M8. And walking around, you've got the infrared transmitter, power lock key here. Notice it's kind of very nicely done. You got the matte plastic and this kind of like little step down to a silver plastic rim to protect the edge of the glass. And then you have the SIM card slot here, volume rocker. So this pulls out with your fingernail, which is really great. At the bottom you have the headphone jack, 3.5 millimeters, micro USB charge data port, and primary microphone. And on the left side, there's the only one thing, which is the micro SD card slot right here, hidden behind this also fingerprint removable flap, which is really kind of cool. So that's pretty much it in terms of layout. You can see that there's actually a secondary mic up here next to the camera. And, you know, pretty much the same size and the same layout as the HTC One M8. That's running Sense 6. You know, the same basic UI as you would on any HTC modern phone today. As I said, this is a foreign device, so it does not have LTE bands compatible with the US, although it does have LTE. You know, it's a great phone. It feels fast in hand. 2700 milliamp hour battery, great battery life. Snapdragon 801, 2 gigs of RAM. Choice of 16 or 32 gigs of built-in storage, but of course micro SD expansion. So again, very much like an HTC One M8. So let's talk about this camera. This camera is pretty damn good. Now it doesn't have the low light prowess of the 4 megapixel ultra pixels, but with 13 megapixels to play with, you can obviously zoom in quite a bit more, which, you know, so choose your poison. But to be frank, this is a better module than what's in the Desire 816 and the HTC One Mini 2. This is a much improved 13 megapixel sensor. So it's the same as we found in the Desire 820 that was just announced at IFA recently. So, you know, again, I mean, it's not as good as perhaps what LG's given us with the G3 because of the lack of OIS, but this is a pretty damn good 13 megapixel sensor. Again, I still think 8 would be enough with OIS, and I'd be a very happy camper. And of course it's plastic, it's a very light phone. That's the thing that feels really amazing, and much less slippery than the HTC One M8. So in that sense, it's a great phone. I really enjoy it. There's another thing that I think is really cool about this phone is that it's water resistant. Well, splash proof, I guess, probably is a better indication. You can drop it in a tub or in the sink by accident and it's fine, nothing bad will happen. It's sealed, it's IPX7 compatible. So that's the Butterfly 2 in a nutshell, an HTC One M8 with an improved, or depending on how you look at it, I think it's improved camera, because of 13 megapixels versus the 4 ultra pixel. And everything else is great. It's lighter, it feels better in hand. If you can get one that's LTE compatible with your carrier, then you're good to go. Size comparison. So HTC One M8 right here next to it. As you can see, they are pretty damn much identical. You can even see down to the layout of where the sensors and cameras and speakers are. Everything is exactly the same. The back looks identical other than the metal build. Same location for all the critical components. And then of course, even the same location for the openings on the side. You've got, you know, the same slots in the same places. You can see the same buttons pretty much in the same places here on the right hand side. So you know, they're kind of twins basically, and that's kind of a cool thing in my opinion. Let's compare it to another phone that's kind of like my staple, my main everyday phone. That's the Nexus 5. So there you have it. Both have 5-inch displays, and again, I love the Nexus 5 for having very little bezel and being such a compact and thin phone. But battery life does suffer from that a little bit. You can see the notification LED flashing here. And again, you know, while the camera app on the HTC Butterfly 2 and the One M8 and a bunch of the current HTC phones is much better interface, because it's got manual controls, so you can set the shutter speed, for example, stuff. It still doesn't change the fact that the Nexus 5 has OIS with an 8 megapixel camera. I wish I could get full manual controls on the Nexus 5 camera, and then it would actually be better, I think, than what HTC is giving us in terms of hardware. They're both pretty thin devices. The Nexus might win a little bit. But again, you can't go wrong with the Butterfly 2. It's a delightful, beautiful device. The M8's plastic twin with a 13 megapixel camera. And remember, there is an HTC E8, which is a plastic version of the M8 that has the same 4 megapixel ultra pixel camera, but this is a slightly different phone from that. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed my review. Please like it. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm TNKGirl, TNKGRL on Twitter. Please stay tuned for the next video review. In the meantime, I'll leave you with this, the HTC Butterfly 2 video review. Cheers!